This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
It's extraordinary what people say they saw at Ford's Theater that night. John Wilkes Booth was a megastar.
The American political climate has always been rife with division, but even juxtaposed against today's polarized environment, it has never been nearly as divided as it was during the Civil War. I'm Alec Baldwin. This is a story that shows how the lines are so often blurred between hero and villain, immortality and infamy, justice and vengeance, and how in that respect nothing has changed today. Listen to The Ides of April, starting July 23rd, wherever you get your podcasts.
Pie in the Sky Media.
Three, two, one. Hello, welcome back, Criminal Mischief Nation. Had a little summer vacay. Hope you guys missed us because we missed you. But we're back. We're ready. And Carolyn has been gracious enough to allow me to take over the feed once again for another project of mine. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Mm-hmm. And I'm also just happy to see you again, Carolyn. How are you? I've missed you.
I'm doing so good. Well, of course you missed me.
Yes.
That goes without saying. But you know what? First of all, I am so happy to talk about Ides of April, which we will get to. I don't want to scoop my own plot here, but okay. You know what? I'm so happy that you had such a great vacation. Let's talk about it a little bit so that everybody
you knows. Can follow it if you're following The Devil Within, because I released episodes corresponding with the cities and the countries that I was in.
Of course.
So I could write off the whole vacation.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
I didn't think about that till I got home.
Thank you.
Somebody asked me. They go, "Did you do that so you could write it off as a business trip?" I'm like, did I? Maybe.
You know what? I think it would make me sad if I thought you were that calculating.
No, I didn't think about it. But no, it ended with a couple weeks in Italy. I did a series called Blood in the Olive Grove about monstrous kind of fables from Italy, from ancient times up through the present, and something in England, a couple things in France. So it was a lot of fun documenting it creatively that way, and then just being there and all of the museums. And my wife planned the trip really, really well. A nice mixture of, satisfying my nerddom,
yes,
and then, but then also with some beach days mixed in for her and the girls,
Nice.
So it was great. We saw, I hadn't been in 20 years since I'd been, in Italy specifically. But man, those museums, the Accademia, the Uffizi, the Vatican rooms, Sistine Chapel, the Louvre.
Oh yeah,
we did all of it, and it was just fucking breathtaking and awe-inspiring, and because I'd seen the Statue of David before, but that was probably 25 years since I've been in the Academia, right? And if you've been in the gallery, you turn right, and boom, at the end of this grand salon, there's 16-foot perfect marble David, right? And it's yeah, you catch your breath. It's incredible. But when I was, 25, that's all I wanted to, I wanted to do was check it off the list kind of thing. And you didn't realize that you're walking past arguably better artwork, right? There's 6 sculptures unfinished that Michelangelo was carving for the tomb of Pope Julius II when he died, but whatever. And so there's 6 unfinished male nudes, life-size, that have been called the prisoners because they're still partially encased in the block of marble, right? Like you Google it when we're done. And there's a body of art critics that think he did that on purpose that it's not that they were unfinished because he died, but that it was a statement that he was making about
Mm,
the human condition. Okay.
mm.
Um, and
He was my daughter who's an artist and very, very, very talented. She was obsessed with Michelangelo.
I still am.
They
Yeah.
had she went to this school where they had these really cool feasts where all the kids got to pick their favorite historical person, and she was Michelangelo, and she had this like mustache and beard. I mean, it was just they
Yeah.
really got into it. It was like an
Yeah.
artistic school, so it was like that was like totally par for the course. And Michelangelo like wore clothes made of like dog hair, and like he has this whole backstory that you don't really associate when you think of Michelangelo, because you think of David, and so I it doesn't surprise me. I guess he died a very wealthy man, but he lived like a complete pauper.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I could totally picture him making a political statement just based on watching my daughter kind of, I mean, she really got obsessed with Michelangelo. It was really fun.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was quite a political statement like Picasso's like Guernica, but it was more of a statement on one art critic wrote that if Michelangelo left them unfinished as an artistic statement, right? He
Mhm.
said it would be uh, a statement on the human condition that equals Hamlet in terms of its depth and in terms of its understanding of the human struggle. Okay. And so that just and to have that have 25 years of life experience under my belt from the last time to this time to really sit there in front of these pieces and just like be like, holy fuck.
Well, and especially when you just completed Ides of April. Talk about
Right.
human struggle,
Oh, no
right?
shit. No shit. And then the other really cool thing that I didn't understand or
Mm.
have or know beforehand was that when Raphael was painting the Pope's apartments, okay, these frescoes like the School of Athens is the real famous one, okay. While he was painting those frescoes, same time Michelangelo was doing the Sistine Chapel like 50 yards away, okay. And Raphael went over there one day and just popped in, like, "Hey, what are you doing?" "Oh, cool," right? And
Mhm.
and sees what the fuck he's doing,
Mm.
and goes, "Holy shit!" and is so inspired
Mm.
that he goes back to the School of Athens and paints Michelangelo into it. Like his face is the face of one of the figures in the School of Athens fresco. Yeah,
Wow.
when you see,
He
you're like,
knew
oh,
what he was doing would stand the test of time.
absolutely. He goes, I gotta honor this motherfucker. Like right here, you're gonna be there
Oh,
forever. Yeah, it was
that's
really, really cool.
really cool.
So just a bunch of shit like that was so great, and obviously in the Mona Lisa and the Winged Victory of Samothrace, like the big sculpture garden and everything, and Venus de Milo, like all the, like it was great. It was amazing, and my daughters got really, really into it. The Italian teenage boys are a different breed than what we have here in the States. Okay, they are
And-
very confident and very forward and asking my 13-year-old to go out for drinks. I,
oh
I
man.
wanted to murder
What
people.
was what is the drinking age there?
Like 11, I don't know. It seems like it's, like whatever you feel like. I think legally it's
It's like
16 maybe or
18,
18.
16.
I think it's 16 maybe Italy, 18 in
Oh
France.
my
I don't
gosh.
No, it's not
Wow.
more than 18 anywhere.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was, and like kids running across traffic and to talk to one, and girls, like some kid gave my daughter flowers on the Spanish Steps. I'm like, what? And I'm looking at my wife and she's just proud mama going, "That's right, girls." And I'm going, what the hell is wrong? No, no, they're children. Stop
Oh.
it.
So what did you do? How did you comport yourself?
I,
What
I, you know me. You think I
I
comported
I
myself?
know that's what I'm
No,
saying. Like
I did not
what
comport
did you
myself. I was
do?
like,
What
get the
did
hell
you
out of
do?
here. Get out of here. She's 15. And he goes, "Oh, hey, no, no, no,
It,
no, 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 Bella, Bella, Bella." I'm like, take your Bella and get on the fucking, go down the block, get out of here. So yeah, it wasn't moments like that. I'm not proud of it, not ashamed of it. That's just, I handled it. I handled it.
That's so funny because we actually went to Chicago for that Godzilla Fest.
Yes.
It's like, I mean, my 11-year-old was like in freaking hog heaven.
I bet.
And it was so cool just being in Chicago. I've never been to Chicago, and the people
Great
there were
city.
so
God, it's a great city.
amazing. Like we flew in and we were just hungry, and we just walked somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And we went to this little hole in the wall, like pizza. You walk in, it's like you got that pizza smell. You've got, I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, okay, there's gonna be some good sauce, you know?
Yeah.
It just had that, oregano, all the flavors. And the guy that was there, he's like, come on, come sit over here. Just immediately you knew that you
Yeah.
were gonna be just treated like family. And it
Was
was,
it the Chicago style deep dish?
they didn't. No, it wasn't like that was their claim to fame. What their
Okay.
claim to fame was, they were a hole in the wall that everybody liked. And, they were just like really kind of family friendly. They saw us coming for some reason. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, we knew you were. So it
Good.
was just like, we had so many great, I guess for me, whenever I travel, which is nothing compared to your traveling, but like I always love the little moments like that, where you have
Yep.
these little exchanges with people. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you
Human
just
moments.
the
Yeah.
human moments, like, just those moments, and
Did you see the
so
bean?
the bean.
The
What's
big
the
silver
bean?
bean in downtown, the art installation. It's like the size
Well,
of a house.
well, we went on the river tour, and that
Oh,
was really
cool.
cool because I love that book, and we've talked about this before, Devil in the White City. So I
Love it.
kind of knew, and I was like, oh,
Awesome.
I was like totally impressing that. Well, they could have cared less, but I said to my sons, the Ferris wheel
It was original here,
it
the
was
first one
original.
ever,
And we're
1898.
just like, they could give a shit, and I was like, I
They'll
know.
appreciate it one day. They'll appreciate it one day.
You know what? It was just I appreciated it,
There you go.
honestly, and it was so cool. And so anyway, it's good to be back. I missed you too, and I'm so
Yes.
happy that you had such a great time.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was a
And I'm
terrific.
happy to talk about Ides of April with
Well,
you.
thank you.
Of
It's first two
course.
episodes are out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you listened to it?
I listened to the first episode. I'm definitely, you left it, or Alec left it on quite the cliffhanger. And I was like, it was really wonderful to hear his voice again.
Yeah.
Because like, I think I've told you, well, I know I told you this before. My daughter used to go to bed at night listening to, she loved Thomas. So I'd always lay with her before she went to bed and we'd fall asleep to Percy's Chocolate Crunch, which is like, he was the voice of that along with George Carlin. And it was so obviously he's not Percy's Chocolate Crunch in this. He's Alec
No.
Baldwin and the gravitas and all that. But it was really great to like hear his voice, and as a storyteller, like I was like immediately drawn into the story. And I thought I wrote here on my notes, your juxtaposition was like on steroids, starting starting off with like the storming of the Capitol, relating that to the Civil War, which I think is totally on freaking point. And you're like, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
right? And then the theater scene with Leonardo DiCaprio, and you're
Right.
like, yeah,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay.
It's a
And
work
then
of fiction if people are listening and don't understand. It was a way, a kind of a visual tool, it's a theater of the mind, but a visual tool to help people understand just how famous John Wilkes Booth was back in
Mhm,
his day.
mhm,
And I mean, because if you watched the TV show Manhunt on Apple, they they did him dirty. They were trying to make him like this B player who was having a hard time to get a job and wasn't like John Wilkes Booth was a megastar
mhm.
in
Well, and I
18.
think you did that. That was another juxtaposition of like, okay, because so for people who don't know, Brandon wrote
Yes,
and researched this. And so that's why I'm saying you, even though, of
right.
course, Alec voiced it, you were the writer and researcher behind this. But like, you were like, so basically, Leonardo DiCaprio is a B actor compared to, you're pulling out Daniel Day-Lewis as the brother and
Right.
Laurence Olivier as the father. And I think that does such a, I feel like your true crime chops were coming out in terms of like setting the stage
Well,
for
yeah,
this cult leader.
this is the
And
greatest true crime story in U.S. history. If you're a
right,
true
but
crime,
but
you're
but
like, yeah.
setting the villain,
Mm,
who is this egomaniac who's trying to prove himself, and he's got all this fame, but it's not enough. He wants to be the artist. He wants to be well respected. Like, you're really setting from the very beginning. I feel like I know who this guy is. And I didn't know really that much about John Wilkes Booth, because as Alec had said, we've all heard the story, but this is not the story you probably heard, right?
No, of course, and it's I'm so lucky that Alec agreed to do it. I've worked with him before. Right around the time I met you for Shadow Girls, I was doing Art Fraud with Alec. This in 2021 or 2022. And we got along really well. And I had mentioned this project to him a couple of years ago, and then finally the timing worked out. And what's funny, and I don't mean this as a slight at all, but John Wilkes Booth, you'd recognize him today, right? As a celebrity who thinks that his opinion is important because he's a celebrity in a different arena outside of politics. Okay. Not unlike a lot of celebrities today, including Alec Baldwin. Okay.
Right.
And I love Alec, and he and I align politically really, really well. Now, that doesn't mean that, and I think he does it in a way that is a little more humble and a little classier than a lot of other people, where he doesn't think because he's a celebrity that his opinion is more important. He knows that because he's a celebrity, he will reach more people with his opinion. Okay. So there's a difference. There are some people who are like, I'm a celebrity, so you need to listen to me because I'm important. Right. And that's who Booth was. Booth was the dangerous version of that. Booth was like,
well, not only, let me just add to that,
Yeah.
based on what you're writing, what I got was that his insecurity, his narcissism, that ego. And what's cool is that, I hadn't really listened to, I mean, I've loved Alec in 30 Rock. I mean, I loved him. I mean, that's like one of my favorite
Yeah, he's so
shows,
good.
right?
So good.
And The Hunt for Red October, so many others, Glengarry
Departed.
Glen Ross, like so many, okay? But what I'd never really heard a full-on interview with him, and I just happened to about a month ago. I fell into listening to David Duchovny's Fail Better, which is a podcast about your failures and how that's more important than your success. You learn more from it if you actually learn from your failures. Anyway, so I listened to, I think Alec was his first guest. And so it was the first time I ever actually kind of listened to him for a long stretch and listened to his history and his feeling of responsibility for his siblings and his whole kind of story. And so I think that, I don't know where I'm going with this other than I think that you're right. I don't think based on this interview, not knowing him, but that it's not coming from an insecure place like Booth. It's coming, or entitled. It's like he feels like it's his duty to say what he feels and maybe just kind of, loses it every once in a while,
Well, like at the end of the day, he's an Irish kid from Long Island, and that's
exactly,
and that's gonna come out, and that's gonna come out.
Yes.
But also he's educated. He's got a great analytical mind, and he's
Definitely.
very, very sure of himself, very confident in his opinions. Okay.
Yeah.
And he'll also smack you in the mouth if you steal a parking spot from him, right? Which, okay, that's a little too much, but okay.
But again, your juxtapositions. You chose a person to narrate this that has that too. I mean, that's a juxtaposition in and of itself, right?
Sure. The big difference, right, is that John Wilkes Booth was a guy with an ego that was so large that he felt that he could succeed where the entire Confederate army failed.
Hey, I'm Bruce.
And I'm Jeff. We're here to tell you a little about our new podcast called Taboo Treasures. In Taboo Treasures, we explore the human obsession with objects of extreme rarity and infamy.
Yeah, we're going to get into Barbie, Hitler, one-of-a-kind soccer ball,
And of course, drugs, guns, murders.
and cults.
We hope you'll join us and learn a little and maybe even laugh a little while we tell you some of the stories behind the stories you only think you know.
Mm-hmm.
Remember at Trump's first inaugural when he said, "I alone can fix it," right? And everyone went, "What the fuck is this guy talking? Holy shit!" Right? That's John Wilkes Booth. He thought he was the only person left on Earth that could save the Confederacy. A week after Lee's surrender. They had surrendered. It was over. He's like, no, no, no. It's not over because I am still drawing breath and I can figure out a way because I'm fucking John Wilkes Booth, because I was just voted the most handsome man in America, because I'm a celebrity, because chicks dig me, because I live in the National fucking Hotel, and but all of this stuff, all right? He thought that that granted him some kind of power, right, to be able to impose his will on America.
I mean,
And
I
listen,
think that
right or wrong,
it's more like when you said cult leader,
oh yeah,
that's where my head went. My head didn't go to like, he's not doing this for the greater good. He's doing it for himself. He just has this whole cosmology of what he thinks is the reason that he's doing it. But like to
Ooh, that's
me, it's like
interesting. That's
he
interesting.
he wants the glory. He wants to do this thing. Like, I don't want to jump ahead, but like you set it up really well in such I couldn't believe it was only 30 minutes. I feel like a lot of ground was covered
Yeah.
to get to the meat of this. Like, it's 17 days. So it's kind of like, great, you're going to get right to it.
Right to it.
Not
Yeah.
there because there's so much history. There's
Yeah.
it was probably really difficult to get that down
Very
in
difficult.
30 minutes.
And that's going to piss some people off. Like, well, what about the 19 guys named John at the State Department that each had I'm like, we don't need all of those Johns. We don't need all of the 11 doctors. We have one doctor that we follow that stayed with Lincoln the whole time. We acknowledge that there were a lot of other physicians, okay, but we stay with one guy, and you'll see why when we get to that. Do we talk about every single person from Ford's Theater who gave a statement that night? No, we don't. We don't need every general order that Ulysses Grant gave that night, shutting down the city. No, we get it. Washington City went on lockdown. Okay, great. That's enough. But there are people.
But I mean, that's what is so challenging about a project like this. I'm trying to give you a compliment here.
Thank you.
Okay. I know you can't take it.
Yeah, it's hard, but okay.
But I know, like, there's so much to choose from. How do you get it into? And I think that's what will be really great about this, is that you've done all the work.
Yeah.
You've done all the work of like giving us just exactly what we need.
What
do we need?
To go back to make a Michelangelo reference, right? Like, I had figured out, in my opinion, okay, what the most dynamic version of the story was, and a story that hadn't been told before.
Yeah.
Okay. And chip away everything that isn't that story. Right.
Yes.
Like what Michelangelo says is take away everything that isn't David from this block of marble.
I know.
Right?
And here's the thing that's so hard about an artist like Michelangelo to like totally beat this thing to death. It's like he would sit up, with the drawings. His neck was like twisted.
Yeah,
sure. It was like, he'd like, I mean, he really had put his body through it to get these beautiful, the works of art that he created. I mean, it's not easy to do this. I'm not comparing you to Michelangelo. I'm just saying it's so hard to do that and to do it well. So I think that it's like, and that's what I'm actually most looking forward to. So for people who maybe aren't into huge historical podcasts, this is not that. No. Like, you've done all the work to just make it like, okay, I'm really going to find out what happened during this period. And I know why it is relevant today. I kind of felt hopeful. I was like, yeah, like when you were talking about, how divided the country was, and how, and all the people, 4 years of fighting, the equivalent of 7 million people dying within 4 years in today's numbers. Like, that's huge.
All Americans too, all within our
and the fact that, coming, and then I just loved how you said, enormous risk, always necessary for systemic change, like, it's so scary for these, and for these huge things, but it's so worth it, obviously, right? So I think that it can kind of give comfort in today's climate.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like
It's not as bad now as it was. You may think it's bad now, and it is,
yeah, I
and it
know,
is,
but that
but
because we're
not like it
dealing
was.
with stuff that's totally different, but it's human beings.
Yeah.
Like I watched the Superman movie, which was so great. If anybody hasn't seen the Superman movie, go see it because it was so good. But they had these, I'm not giving away too much to say it, but they have these monkeys that are basically in this alternate reality that are doing the social media stuff of like, basically, getting people in their echo chambers so like we all hate each other, right? And it was just like, so the point is that even though we are up against so much now with people trying to divide us, like you said, it was way worse back then.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that Abraham Lincoln was the first president that was assassinated.
Yep.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
And how they got him when he was vulnerable and how that happened to other assassinated presidents, which was true because his guy that was his Edward Stanton, who was the Secretary
Edwin, yeah.
of War, the hammer of the gods.
Yeah.
He was worried that somebody was going to assassinate him, but who knew that it was going to be like in a comfy, theater box.
John Wilkes Booth wanted home court advantage.
So he wasn't in the play.
Nope. He had done the play. He knew the play intimately. He had done it, so he knew exactly when to strike. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
what was the play? What was the play?
It's called Our American Cousin. It's about like an English family that has, the ugly American, the boorish American come visit, and it's a comedy. Comedy. But Booth had played that role, and it's explored in episode 3 about why he chose the moment to strike, because there was a one scene in the whole play where there was a monologue, just one guy on stage. And as that guy, the laugh came, and then that guy left the stage. And that's when Booth did it. So he could jump onto the stage and be the only guy there and have all the spotlight on him and say, like, here, he knew when to do it. So all the focus would be on him.
Okay, so since I didn't see episode 2 or 3, but I'm going to definitely watch it. But you're saying that after he assassinated or after he shot Abraham Lincoln, he jumped up on the stage. Is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah, but Lincoln was in the presidential balcony.
Yeah.
Above stage right. Okay.
Yeah.
Booth shoots him.
Wait, he shot him from the stage.
No, he shot him in the balcony.
Okay,
he shot him from behind.
Yeah. Okay.
Then he jumped down onto the stage.
Okay.
And stood in the light and said, "Sic semper tyrannis, thus always the tyrants," the Virginia state motto, and then ran off stage. And everyone was like, what does he do? Is this part of the show? They're looking in their program like, what is this? Yeah.
Right.
And all he had going for him was the element of surprise. That's it. And it took almost 60 seconds.
And that's everything.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yep. And
I'm sure because he was and I'm sure you'll get into this, but because he was a famous, actor. Yeah. Come on in.
Oh, they didn't even do that. They just said, "Welcome back, sir. Can I get you anything?"
Right.
It's like he owned Ford's Theater, right? Like it's like that was his second home. He could walk anywhere in that place without a second glance, And he had a horse waiting for him at the backstage door, and he was, before anyone even knew what the fuck was going on, he was out of the city, in the woods of Maryland, heading south.
Well, I'm really excited to hear how he was like a cult leader. Because I didn't know that.
We'll get into all of that. And so what's important to your point from earlier is that it's not like, and it could very well have been, and I would have been happy to do it. It could very well have been a dry history podcast because I'm a history nerd, right? But that's not what the story is. It's not like a slow, beautiful Ken Burns documentary, and I love Ken Burns. This is more of, because that's not the story. This was fast paced. It's a manhunt. He's on the run. He's hiding in the woods. Edwin Stanton is freaking out in Washington City because he's in charge now. His best friend, Abraham Lincoln, was just murdered, and he goes way, way overboard right? And sends the army after civilians, and who's going to help Booth along the way. It's like this reverse kind of Underground Railroad, right? This bastardized version of where just Confederate safe houses that would help him and spirit him away into Virginia. So it's fast paced, it's true, right? It's and it's
well, one thing that was
the
like
greatest story never told, basically.
the little clip with Lincoln, and he sounded so calm, and it just reminded me of having when you have that calm leader, where you can just like just thinking about how he was talking was so calming, and
Yeah.
what he was saying
What he was
was
saying was so
upsetting.
incendiary.
I know, and you're like, and his advisors were like, the first guy who's like,
Like,
just
it's too early, dude. It's too
I
early.
know, and he's like, I love you, man, but please,
Oh,
and
come
he's
on,
like,
tone
okay,
it
but
down.
he totally had his back, right?
He had his
And
back always
and then
because Lincoln was so smart. Lincoln knew he had the political capital to force that issue because he had just won the fucking Civil War. He did it.
I know, but that, like,
Did it.
again, I kept going back. Risk, enormous risk, always is
Absolutely.
necessary for systemic change. I kept coming back to that throughout, writing that down because that's so true with everything, and yet is so scary. And I know, and I think that's what will resonate with other people too, because we all have our little, or I'm going to say most of us have our little ideas of what we think of or know about Abraham Lincoln and this story. And like, I know, like, if I'm talking about Abraham Lincoln, I'll always bring up, because I think this is really cool, is that he had all, even though I think he was a Republican, but he had Democratic friends. It was like a reversal thing where it was
Well,
like,
we get it. We get into that in episode 4 and episode 5, where um, the political parties were almost exact opposites
right. That's what
what
I'm
they are
saying. Yeah.
today.
So a Republican would be a Democrat today, and a
Correct.
Democrat would be a Republican. Yeah.
Republicans were the progressives,
Right.
right? Were
Exactly.
like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but what always I think makes a good leader in anything, whether you're the president of the United States or a mom to five, right? Is like, you need to hear different opinions and not just listen to the same thing from someone, and that's what he did. He
Of
had
course,
all these different
he's
advisors who disagreed with him.
when of course they were his rivals. They wanted him dead, okay, and he hired
No,
them. When
I
he ran for re-election in the middle of the war,
Mhm,
okay,
mhm,
he got a new running mate. So the Republicans were the progressives, the party of big government, and we're going to help you do everything. The Democrats, especially the Southern Democrats, were the they would have been MAGA of today, right?
mhm, mhm.
Absolute ultra conservatives. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, he saw an end to the war, and he was fairly confident that the Union was going to win, that he was going to stay in office. Okay. So he chose Andrew Johnson as his running mate, a Southern Democrat.
Mm,
And he
mhm,
didn't run as a Republican, and Johnson didn't run as a Democrat. They formed a new party called the Union Party ticket,
mhm,
okay, to let
mhm.
everyone know, hey, listen, I'm going to be everyone's president when we win, because we're all going to be Americans again. There are
Yeah.
no more enemies within our borders. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what he ran on, and that's what he won on. It was like incandescent fucking leadership that we were getting from this guy.
I
Okay.
know. And just even in I don't want to say little podcast, but like your podcast was like, I was feeling like so comforted. I was
Yeah.
like, and then what's going to happen to him. And it's
Yeah.
like, because then you hear, then, like you said, the greatest, hero and the biggest villain, right? Because then he's like, he interprets all that to his like lackey friend of like, yeah, they're not gonna blame us for anything. We get to go home, and he's gonna free the slaves, just all that, and that's so he's a monster, so it's like, like, oh man, this guy is really gonna, hurt.
Yeah, but then you find out how it backfired. We made him Obi-Wan Kenobi. Remember when he said, "Strike me down, I'll become more powerful in death than you could ever imagine." Lincoln never would have become as, like the American God that he is if he'd
Mhm.
lived out his life,
Yeah,
right?
I
Booth
know, but
martyred him, and instantly it was like an apotheosis. He became deified, like right then, so it was, yeah, I've loved this topic for a long time. The podcast is actually an extended version of a screenplay from a long time ago that I wrote like 15 years ago.
We don't give up on our little treasures easily.
No way. I was never giving up on this. Yeah. Never. So it's good. I'm happy with it. It's 8 episodes. It's out 2 episodes now, and then weekly from here on out. And then I'm going to continue it. I'll take over for Alec. I'm going to be doing weekly episodes on it.
Okay.
And then Alec will come back for another 8 episode season next year.
Okay, Ides of April.
Ides
I
of April.
recommend it. 5 stars.
Wherever you get your podcasts, I would appreciate the listen, everybody.
Yeah. Well, you deserve a little love. So absolutely, good job, great job. Looking forward to listening to the rest.
Well,
and
thank you.
Next week we will have our regularly.
Yes, back to regular programming next week. I can't wait. So thank you for listening, everybody. Again, please go to Ides of April, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And I would appreciate follow and rate and review and all of that, because it really helps. Because it's a new show, it's a brand new feed. So we're really trying to build the audience. And there's a Instagram for it, Ides of April Pod on Instagram. So check that out also. All right.
Okay.
See you next week, Carolyn.
All right. Bye.
I'll talk to you this week. Okay.
You nerd.
Bye, everybody.
Get out of here without being a freaking nerd.
From Pie in the Sky Media, Criminal Mischief is an EVO production, recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself. Music by Soundstripe. For EVO Creative, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.